So, Penn State, I put them on upset alert last week. You can roll the tape. Joe can't call me crazy. I picked Penn State in that game. I'm not even going to lie, but I did put them on potential upset alert, and they lost. And you can talk about game of inches. Was he down on the 2-point conversion? Was he out of bounds on the 2-point conversion?
Was.
All questions we can ask. But the fact is they got upset at Indiana, and now they have to play Ohio State. Justin Fields, the machine, in Happy Valley, but with no fans, I think. So the question is here, is Penn State already out of the college football playoff? I mean, they just lost on the road to an Indiana team that is ranked now, but isn't exactly considered right now, even in the discussion for the college football playoff.
I wouldn't say they're fully out yet. If they lose to Ohio State, then yeah, they're definitely out. If they somehow beat Ohio State, then yeah, they have a chance of coming back in my opinion, because Ohio State's such a good team. Like, a win from them would definitely redeem you.
Oh, 100%.
So that's like the only way they can get into the playoffs. And honestly, like, yeah, it's the only way, because if they lose, they're going to be a 2-loss team. And like you said, no 2-loss team like makes the playoffs these
especially
days.
In an 8-game setup.
Yeah.
I don't think it's done. I think the fact that there are only 8 games really hurts them, especially if Clemson manages to get through this 2-game stretch with only 1 loss or even unscathed. This is going to be difficult. I think I personally think Ohio State's going to brutalize them this weekend. I think it'll be kind of close for a while, but I watched that Penn State game. They looked kind of anemic on offense at times. They woke it up late. It looked like they won the game, and then they choked. I don't think that team that struggled with Indiana –
it was a bad call.
Yeah, regardless, though, that team that struggled with Indiana, if they show up like that, Justin Fields is going to eat them alive. And I think that's just a fact. Pat Freiermuth looked okay. They had a couple of decent receiving options. Journey Brown's out with an undisclosed medical condition, so that hurts. But that Penn State defense we thought would be good has really suffered that loss of Micah Parsons and just doesn't look the same. I mean, they got beaten up I think they led like 30-something points to a quarterback that threw under 50% passing for most of the night. So that's a huge concern. And when you go from that to Justin Fields, it's not going to be good. Regardless, I do agree with you. I think if they somehow manage to pull this off, they're absolutely still in the discussion at least. And so that kind of segued us into the next question by analyzing Penn State. But what the heck happened? Like, I know Indiana's not a bad football team, but what just happened on that field last week?
It wasn't good defense. The offense was a thing that kept them in the game, obviously.
Yeah.
But even then, that was like an A- in my opinion. At best.
I'd give it a B. Like, for most of the game, they were useless, and they picked it up in the late third,
I wanted to be
fourth.
leaning on them, but what really screwed them over was I'm gonna say it's the refs, because he was down, he was out of bounds.
I think he was out of bounds.
Yeah, there's no way he should have gotten that 2-point conversion. The game should have been over at that point. The problem is the fact that you let it go to overtime is what's just wrong about that, That's
what I'm saying. You can't fully blame the refs because that performance was not good.
But you can't blame the refs because it was a horrible call.
Yeah, no, you absolutely can. I mean, they would have won the game and escaped by the skin of their teeth, and we wouldn't even be having this discussion over whether they even still have a chance to make the playoff. We'd just be talking about how they got scared. They had a scare. But, Joe, watching them, they did not look great. I think Sean Clifford was really not good for a good portion of that game.
Not. He's not Trace McSorley.
Yeah, of course he's not Trace McSorley. And he doesn't have help in the backfield, and his receiving core has been depleted since last year.
I'm willing to give them the benefit of the doubt, okay? It was the first game of a weird season.
Yeah, fair.
Okay, I'm willing to give teams like Penn State the benefit of the doubt. I will have my decision after they lose to Ohio State tomorrow.
Yeah, I think we can say that. And look, Ohio State has not been perfect. I don't want to even pretend that they are. I mean, look, in the first half against Nebraska, they were struggling and they were going back and forth. It's when Fields really and company picked it up, the defense clamped down. And I mean, you look at the final score, it's grossly inflated based on how well Ohio State played in the second. I do think that going on the road, playing a ranked team, especially Penn State, in a game that is kind of a rivalry game, will be intimidating, but it's not going to be the same whiteout atmosphere you see at big Penn State games on Saturday Night Football on ABC, just because COVID. And I think that Ohio State will really benefit from that, despite the fact that there's a lot of new pieces they're trying to incorporate. I mean, Garrett Wilson already was a great receiver, but he's getting more looks. Olave's obviously on the field as well. Didn't have as great a game as we thought he would. And then obviously in the running back situation, Master Teague is starting to take over. I think he might have fumbled, if I'm not mistaken. So it's just a lot of new things they're trying to work in. But I do still think that Ohio State is head and shoulders above this Penn State team. I think